we'll now start editing the gameplay scene. Here's the gameplay scene. Here is the gameplay scene. We have the main camera, and first we'll add an image. We'll call it BG and set it to plain white, and canvas like we did it in the main camera. Main menu scene, plane distance, order in layer, scale with screen size 1080 by 1920 and 0.5. So we'll have a plain white background, or you can set it to something here. White is little bit gray is also. Now we'll add an empty to the canvas, which will add the buttons, and create empty, rename it to player choice handler, and duplicate it, and not now. We'll add the 3 buttons to it. Now we'll add a button to it. Why? Let's rename it to rock, and we don't need the text, and the rock player choice handler, we don't need width. Set it to 10 by 10, so it in the scene, and the rock will set the width 200 by 200. And the sprite, we add the rock sprite, rock paper scissors. This one is the rock, a rock, and depending on the player choice handler, we'll set its position, duplicate it twice, rename it to paper, and the last one is the scissor. Paper will have the sprite as paper, and scissors will have this as the, and that's position 0, 102, 100, and that's our 3 choices, and we'll add it at somewhere at the bottom, since it's not to be on the center, because we'll add one opponent choice also, negative 500. Duplicate the player choice handler and set the position positive 500, and we'll rename it to opponent choice handler. Opponent choice, it contains all the rock paper and scissors sprite. Now let's create the game manager script, because that's the main object that will contain everything. Rename it to game manager, set its position, scripts, create new script, and let's call it game manager. And add the game manager to the game manager. So game manager will tell all the buttons, all the will have all the functionality of all the buttons, and will change when it will change the UI depending on the game state. Now we had the winning text. Add the text, rename it to text, and set it on the center. Anything. X is 0, position Y is 0, 1000, height 150, center, and this. font size to 120. We don't need any different text. Let's add text to it. So that was the winning text. Save it. Now in the game manager, let's open the game manager. The game manager screen, we have the start and the update function. There is no need to change anything. First, we'll have a public enum of choices, which will contain rock, paper, scissors, and none. Now let's create a function like void act, and two variables, choices of player choice and opponent choice. Let's set it to none for now. And the opponent choice is also none. And the public void select will add a two option, choices, choice, and one boolean, which will check if it is a player or not. So if it is a player, then we'll set player choice equals to player choice is equals to my choice. And if it is not a player, then we'll set opponent choice is equals to my choice. Now from where we'll call this function? We'll call this function from the buttons. Button will have a script that will call the function from the game manager. The game manager should be Unix. Let's remove the start function and add a game manager instance. Game manager, it needs to be public and it needs to be static, and it's of the type game manager, and let's rename it to instance. So we'll set up in the awake function. In the awake, if instance is equals to null, then instance is equals to this. So whenever we call the instance from game manager.instance, it will refer to this script. So we have the select, and we'll add choice. Will refer to the select function from game manager.instance.select and pass in the choice and the player, and then we'll determine the winner. Let's add a new function. So from where we'll call the select, we'll call it from the buttons. So on every button there is a one script, and we'll call it choice select script. Let's create that script. create hash script choice select and open it in Visual Studio. What will choice select script contain? First, it will contain a public choices and we'll set it to button choice. For rock, paper, and scissors, it will depend on whatever choice is it. And a public bool is player. Let's make it serialized field because we are not going to use it anywhere. We are just passing it, so there is no need, it won't change. And one function which are going to set in the button public void choice selected, and what this choice selected is gonna do, we'll call the game manager dot instance and we'll pass the select. And what did we select in it? The button choice and is player. So if it's player, it will set the player choice to that button choice. And if it's not player, it will set that opponent choice to that button choice, which we have selected in a here. So when we'll determine the winner? When if is game, if is player selected, and let's create that bool for bool is player selected is opponent selected is game finished and is opponent AI. If is player selected and the opponent is also selected, then we'll call the determined winner. And at the start, we'll check if his game completed, then we'll do nothing. If his game finished, then we'll just return. So it won't execute the rest of the function. And if it is a player and if is opponent AI, then we'll call select because we can't select it from the opponent buttons, and we'll pass it as a choices, typecast it to choice, and it is a random dot range. Zero, 1 and 2, so 0 to 3, and false because we are not selecting it for the player, so its player will be false. Else opponent choice. So that was for the select, and if both are selected, then we'll determine winner. In determine winner, we'll set the text of the winning message to whoever wins. So we'll add to string, we'll set it to player name and opponent name. Let's set distance is equals to null, distance is equals to, okay, it's reversed. Don't need anything. Let's set the player name equals to player, and opponent name is equals to AI. And depending on the player name, the opponent name, will set the winning message and string win equals to, and constant string draw. This the game is a draw. So we'll set the text of the winning message to it. So we'll need a text and we'll call it from using unityengine.ui. Set it to serialized field and text winning message text. Let's go back to the Unity editor and add the choice select. So every button, we have the rock, paper, scissors, and another one rock, paper, scissors, and add the choice select script. And set first one is the player choice hand, that we have rock, this player is to true. Paper will set it to paper and this player is to true. Scissors, choice is scissors and this player is to true. Opponent, this player is false. Paper, is player is false. Scissors, scissors, and his player is false. So we set up the conditions for the rock, paper, and scissors. Now we need to add the on-click function for every button. So add the on-click, and in rock, we'll add the rock, and the function is choice selected. For the paper, add the paper game object, because we don't need, it's on the paper game object, the script. Every script has a unique condition. For scissors, scissors game object is selected. The rock, choice selected. Paper game object, choice selected. And for the scissors, scissors game object, choice selected. So we have the options for selecting all the choice. And game manager, the script is attached and the winning text is this text. Nothing else to do. Now let's go to the game manager script. In game manager script, we have the winning message when is player selected is, when is player selected is equals to true, and when the opponent selects is opponent selected is equal, and if his player selected and his opponent selected, is game finished is equals to. So when we click any of the buttons, it won't execute any of the code below, because when the game is finished, none of the code is executed and it just returns. And in determine winner, we have the player choice and the opponent choice. Player name, player choice. So if player choice is equals to opponent choice, the first condition, Then winning message text dot text is equals to the game is a draw. Else if player choice is equals to choices dot, let's begin with paper, and we'll set the winning condition first, and opponent choice equals to choices dot, player choice is paper, then the opponent choice should be rock for the win. Then winning message text dot text is equals to player name plus win. Now we'll pop twice because it's the win, and paper, and we have rock and rock bit scissors. So we'll choose scissors here. Scissors is left, choices dot scissors, and scissors bit paper. So the winning message text is set. Now for the losing conditions, else if player choice is equals to choices dot scissors and opponent choice is equals to choices dot rock, because the player needs to lose, rock beats scissors, then winning message text dot text is equals to opponent name, now the opponent wins, and the win string. Copy it again multiple times. The first was the scissors. Scissors lose against the rock. Now next we have paper. Paper will lose against scissors. And rock will lose again paper. Now let's start the game and see if it's working. Let's go into Unity. And let's start playing the game. Are there any errors? Okay, application mode. No errors. Not working. Where is that? Rock if it's player. Click paper. There's rock here. There's choice select is added. Choice selected. Game manager dot choice. Game manager is also selected. Whenever we click, is happen. Okay. Player choice handler. Okay, the upper one is the player and the lower one is the opponent. That was an error there. Let's start again. Game is a draw. Game is a draw. Well, that was a failure. I'll check what was the error. Come back again. So the problem is fixed. The only problem was when we set the booleans, is player selected, is opponent selected, and selected. We suppose that all of them were false at the beginning, and we don't initialize it. It's always false, but it is opponent AI. Is we need it to be true at the beginning because we are now testing against the computer. So is opponent AI is true, we'll set it and the game runs fine. So let's check Unity. Let's play the game and select AI wins. So he would be have selected, we had selected rock, so it would be player. Now once again, and we selected paper, so it would have selected rock.